So let me begin this video by saying I personally do not care what you buy. I got no horse in the race. I don't benefit from you buying a console or buying a PC. This video is about information, pure and simple. Not trying to sell you anything, but I do want you to be informed because a lot of people are going to be making decisions over the course of the next few months about what they're going to do, and you should have as much information as possible so that you can make the best decision for you and your wallet. So I know that I've got a good mixture of gamers on this channel. You know, some are PC, some are console gamers. And anytime that I talk about PC, some people get frustrated. I don't know why. It's just information. But I also always see several comments from people who say things that are simply not true, or they're misconstrued, or they're just overly exaggerated. So in this video, I'm going to be tackling some of the common myths and beliefs about PC gaming, and also talking about some of the benefits of consoles, if you want to go that route as well. So let me begin with one of the biggest misconceptions about PC gaming. Myth number one, it's expensive. So no doubt, you know, if you want to go throw down $2,000 on a top-of-the-line PC, you can definitely do that, but it'll probably be way overkill for the vast majority of people. Most people don't need anywhere near that in order to, especially just to game. The truth is, though, PC gaming isn't getting more expensive. It's actually getting a whole lot cheaper, especially in the upcoming few months. You've got new tech coming out. You've got NVIDIA and AMD both releasing brand new cards that are rivaling some of the cards that today have been around like $1,000. But these cards are delivering that sort of performance for less than half that price. AMD, for instance, just unveiled a $200 card that can run the brand new Doom game at 1440p and 60 frames per second. And it can deliver high-end VR gaming if that's what you're into. Again, only $200 for that particular card. So if you're able to spend like $700 to $800, you can build a really nice gaming PC. You can even find some sites that'll show you how to build one for even less than that. But if you can fit, you know, that approximate amount in your budget, you're going to be gaming for a long time with high settings, or at least a lot higher than consoles can currently deliver. And you might say, well, Dragon, well, that's almost twice as much as a console, so it better be delivering a lot better performance than a console. And you're right, you know, if you're talking about hardware cost, the initial cost of getting in to gaming, console is certainly a much cheaper entry point for getting started. But you got to also consider everything. You got to put the big picture out there. So subscriptions, for instance, PC has no subscriptions. And so if you multiply $60 times 5 years or however long you own the console, that's going to add up. Even if you don't pay that much and you still buy them on sale like I do, you know, you get them for $40 or so for a year, that still adds up over time each year that you're putting money into that. And so some people might argue, well, with that subscription, though, that gives me access to dedicated servers, it gives me access to parties and voice chat, and it gives me access to achievements or trophies or whatever. All those are on the PC, and they don't cost a single dime. But your biggest cost for gaming is going to be the games themselves. And so with consoles, you're looking at almost a guaranteed $60 price tag on pretty much every new game that comes out. PC games, on the other hand, are oftentimes a lot cheaper, even on launch day, especially if you use sites like G2A and CD Keys, which I've got links for down in the description box. I told you a few weeks ago that I picked up Doom day one for under $40 on G2A. You look at Overwatch, very popular game out right now, $60 on consoles on day one, whereas on PC, I could pick it up for $40. So, I mean, hell, I bought Age of Empires 2 last night on Steam for $3. PC games are just cheaper. I mean, there's no way around it. There's more sales, there's deeper discounts, especially when you consider things like the Humble Bundles, things like that. So it might be expensive initially, But over time, you're going to be saving yourself money, and those savings are going to add up to a good amount of money. And so you have to take all this into consideration, I think. And, if you're somebody who, for instance, paid $500 for a brand new Xbox One whenever they came out on day one, and you're planning on buying the Scorpio pretty soon, I'm sure that's going to run you upwards of $400. Once you add all of that together, you could have purchased yourself a relatively nice high-end PC. And of course, with PC in that price tag also comes just a ton more things that you can do with it. It's just more versatile, more things that can be done. You can edit videos, you can use it for your schoolwork, for your business, you build websites, you can play mods that people build for free. That premium price comes with a lot of premium features. And one other thing that I'll mention real quick about the games, and this is something that you should be able to do with consoles, yet it's only PC that I'm aware of. You go to places like Steam or Origin, you buy a game, you play it, and you don't like it, you can go return it. Pretty much no questions asked. If you've put in less than 2 hours time, I believe that's the time limit, on a game, and you don't like it, you can go get your money back on it. And that will save a lot of people a lot of money. Myth number 2, PC has a ton more issues. So one of the definite benefits of console gaming is that you plug it in, you play. Very simple, you don't run into a whole lot of issues. Although, admittedly, I will say that I've had more issues probably this generation, it seems, than in any generation in the past. But I do see a whole lot of console gamers say this about PC, how, there are tons of driver issues, a lot of games don't work right, they don't run whenever you first buy them. And, occasionally you do run into issues. They had the whole Batman ordeal that happened. I can't remember if it was this year or last year. Like, my idea of time sometimes kind of runs together. But occasionally you do run into some of those issues. But overall, those issues are really rare. They just don't happen near as much as some people claim that they do. Now, it was true several years ago that you would have a lot more issues with drivers and things like this, but I honestly can't remember the last game that I had an issue with on my PC. Almost everything I download, it plays just fine, just like it would on a console. NVIDIA and AMD roll out patches and driver updates almost with basically every new game that comes out, so the games are automatically optimized for it, and to install all of that is basically just a click of the mouse to say, okay, go ahead and install this update. And if you do run into issues, it's really just like the consoles in the sense that most issues are resolved by simply turning off your PC and turning it back on. Just a simple reboot a lot of times will fix any issues. So again, back in the day, driver issues might have been a big deal. Today, not so much. Everything's pretty automated. Myth number 3, PC gaming has no exclusives. So if you look at the top 5 most watched games on Twitch for 2015, number 1 was League of Legends, number 2, Counter-Strike, number 3, Dota 2, number 4, Hearthstone, and number 5 was Minecraft. 4 out of the top 5 games can't even be played on consoles. The fact is, PC has a ton more exclusives than all consoles combined. Consoles still have great exclusives, and so some people might want the consoles because of their exclusives, but that doesn't diminish the fact how many are actually on the PC. And so there's some great ones on there as well that you can't play on any console. Not to mention the fact that pretty much everything is also backwards compatible. So again, I can go back and play games like Age of Empires 2 if I want to. Myth number 4, PC gaming is too complicated or hard to build. So almost all my friends build their own PCs. I'm sure there's this sense of pride that you get from piecing it all together. And there's tons of guides out there online. There's tons of walkthroughs. Everybody who does it says that it's really easy and simple to do. But I admit, even myself, that it seems a little daunting, especially if you've never done it before. And when you're putting that sort of money into a system, you're putting close to $1,000 or over that, you don't want to be the one that screws it up. And so there's still plenty of options. You can go buy a pre-built PC, or you can go to these sites that basically walk you through the process. They hold your hand, and you can still customize everything inside. You tell them what you want inside, and they still piece it together and then ship it to you. And they basically won't let you screw up. They'll say, hey, you need to pick a CPU. So here's the prices. Here's the different powers for them. Next, you need a GPU. So pick one out. Okay, well, now we've got all that together. Here's the power supply that you're going to need at least. So go ahead and pick the power supply that you want. So you're still in control. It's just not you're in control of having to piece it all together and figure it out. They'll do it for you. And that's actually what I did back in 2012 with the system that I'm using right now. I went through a CyberPower PC and I picked all my parts. They put it together and it's been working great. Now, I'm not endorsing them. I'm just saying they're one option out there out of many. So no doubt consoles are much less complicated, but it's also an overstatement to say PCs are just overly complicated themselves. Myth number 5, I don't want to have to constantly upgrade my PC. So some people think that simply because they come out with new parts every few months, that you gotta buy those parts in order to keep up. Never mind the fact that consoles now are apparently going to be upgraded every few years as well. The fact is, I bought my PC back in 2012, and up until last year, I hadn't done anything to it. I was running a GTX 680 still. It was still running games on high settings, getting high frame rates. The only reason why I decided to jump up to the 970 was because there was a really good deal around Christmas time. So I went on ahead and jumped in on it. But it was because I wanted an upgrade. It wasn't that I had to have that upgrade. Since then, I've added a little bit of memory to it, and I've also installed an SSD. But again, I mean, all of that was just optional. I didn't have to do any of that. But I do promise you this, even for the people who are worried about building their own PCs, they don't feel comfortable, moving around different parts inside. The biggest components that you would probably swap out over the course of a PC are an upgrade to your GPU or memory or even a hard drive like that. And I promise you, those 3 things are like the easiest thing in the world to do. And I guarantee you, anybody literally can do it. It takes less than 5 minutes to remove the cover and pop a new one in. There's really nothing to figure out there. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. But again, it's not one of those things, depending on what you get, that you actually have to upgrade constantly. And so those are probably the 5 biggest myths that I see with PC gaming. There's plenty more, though, of course, to consider. Some people just prefer controllers. They just want a controller. They don't like mouse and keyboard. There's a lot of games that I use controllers for, though, on the PC. Controllers nowadays work pretty flawlessly on the PC, especially if you got like a Microsoft controller and you're using Windows. So especially like racing games, I keep my Xbox One Elite controller right beside my desk so I can pick it up and use it anytime. Even games like Battlefield, I'll use a mouse and keyboard if I'm in a vehicle or on foot, but I keep my controller on so that if I jump into a plane or a jet, I can just pick up the controller and fly with that, because to me, that's a whole lot easier to fly than with mouse and keyboard. So you pretty much get the best of both worlds. And I know a lot of people are like intimidated by a mouse and keyboard. I can certainly understand that. It's one of those things where if you've always used a controller, it's hard to get used to. Same thing goes in the opposite direction. If you take somebody who's never gamed on a controller before and you're trying to get them to game on one, that can be a pretty horrid experience as well. But it's just like either one. If you find like a shooter that you like and you learn how to play that one shooter with a mouse and keyboard or a controller, every other shooter that you're going to play is going to be pretty much the same. Like that, they have basically the same controls in almost every game. And so you just learn one and everything else is going to be a breeze. And, if they don't have the same controls, then you just go into your key binding and set it up however you like. Another thing is, some people just want to play on the couch. consoles are definitely a much easier and better experience on the couch. But it's also true that some people do play PC gaming on their TV. I mean, there's HDMI ports on pretty much every TV nowadays. There's HDMI ports on your PC. And in fact, that's actually how I used to play back in the day, back in Battlefield 2. I mean, this was years and years ago, but I had a big screen TV, and so I would have this like beanbag that I would sit up against the couch, and so I'd lean up against the couch, and then I had this low coffee table that would fit nicely over me, and so I could have my mouse and keyboard right there, and I'd play on my, living room TV. Now, I'm not saying that's how everybody wants to do it, but I'm saying that you can do it if that's the way you want to. And of course, you've got like Steam Big Picture mode, and pretty much, again, every game that you play nowadays has controller support, almost every game. And if it doesn't, there's a mod out there to make it work. So you can even buy a big TV and use that as your monitor if you want to on your PC desk. That's what my dad did. So in closing, I will say, some people are just going to prefer console gaming no matter what. Some people are going to prefer PC gaming no matter what. And you really don't need this, checklist that you can go through and mark off and say, hey, this one has more features or whatever. I have more checks on this list, so this is the better gaming experience. There's still plenty of reasons to own a console. There's no right or wrong opinion about opinions and preferences. I still enjoy jumping on the sofa with my controller, playing against other people with a controller. And consoles still have plenty of benefits as well. Everything has pros and cons to it. With consoles, you run into less cheating. I think that's sort of another myth that's been a little bit exaggerated on PC. Like some people would have you believe that cheating is rampant in every single game on PC, which that's not the case. It is rampant in some games, and I admit that I've been ran off on games before with cheating. But for the most part, most devs incorporate good anti-cheat measures. So that has been a little bit exaggerated, but still, it happens more so on the PC than it does the console. And again, there's no right or wrong answer, and I don't care either way, and you shouldn't either as far as whoever decides to play what. But you should be informed, and you should consider all your options, because now you're having more options thrown at you. You got Sony and Microsoft who are saying we're going to have updates and upgrades a lot sooner than most people anticipated. And so they're giving you more options, and so it's time for you to look at all your different options as well. And some people maybe who have stayed away from PC gaming simply because they thought it was too expensive may look at their new options and say, hey, do I really want to buy a new console every few years and spend another $400 or $500 on it? So post below, has the Xbox Scorpio and PS4 Neo made you consider PC gaming more so than in the past, and what do you plan to do? That does it for me, the Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.